Hey, it's Skelemystyk. Today I want to talk to you all about two very popular things in the spiral. And that is the new pets and the new spells. Whatever else KingsIsle and Wizard101 do so far as content goes, it seems like most of the time they're always pretty well on the mark with some really cool pets and some really cool spells. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the top 5 favorite spells that we would like to see as pets. Before I get into that though, I want to take a quick mention here. Guys, I really wanted to have a full animation of each of these pets for you for this video. I mean, I have the capability to turn a spell into a pet that just looks like, the size of Lady Shadow and has the animation and all that. I had that capability, but the actual animation for that takes a long time. And I had some problems there at the end, and I lost the files for the animation. And it really takes a long time to redo those. And it sort of broke my heart that I couldn't show them to you after all of that work. But that's all right. I have an alternative, and we're going to do that. I have to say that of the top 5 that were picked, only one of them is one that I really prefer. I personally, if I had a pick, would take the Scorching Scimitar's Genie as a pet from the spell. I mean, I've had Lady Shadow here for going on 6 or 7 years now. And, oh, believe me, I mean, whenever you have a pet that long, you really do grow attached to having that pet. But if we got a Scorching Scimitar's Genie, especially if the Scorching Scimitar's Genie were at least as tall as Lady Shadow, or maybe even a little bit bigger, then I'm sorry, Lady Shadow, I might have to tuck you in the closet for, look, she's screaming at me. I may have to tuck you in the closet for a little while, and just for a little while use that Scorching Scimitar's Genie, because that's a really beautiful spell. And if they made it anything like the spell, I'm sure it would make a very beautiful pet. Alright, that was my own really personal favorite pick, but it didn't make the top 5. However, being as I like it and I'm making this video, darn it, I feel that it deserved a shout out, so it got a shout out right there. Alright, now, some of these picks of the top 5 I thought were alright. And I really do like the top one. I do like it, but it's not really my favorite. However, let's go ahead now and get into what these spells actually are that people would like to see as pets. Starting with number 5. Number 5, I have to say, by the way, before I show it to you, is a little bit of a fudge, because it's not really a spell per se right now, so much as a mob that's already animated. But nonetheless, this is number 5. There you have it. That's number 5. It's both expected and unexpected in that whenever I asked people for votes about their favorite spells to pets, this one came up despite the fact that there was no spell for it. And it wasn't just one person who voted for it. It was several people who said, hey, that's a great idea. Even though that's not a spell, that would make a favorite pet for me. I would love to have that. So I put it here in the list, even though it's not quite technically a spell to pet. I put it in there to make a lot of people happy who spent a lot of time spent their time voting on this, and apparently really like this pet in large numbers, apparently. So number 5 is the Prickly Bear Cactus, which I can sort of understand it being as, I mean, bears and teddy bears especially are really loved among the American culture. I mean, the teddy bear has been around for ages, and I could see where they would pick the prickly bear as a cool pet, especially if it did something cool, like as an attack it threw its spines or something, sort of like that Death Stegosaur does with the spikes. If it threw its spines or had a really cool animation, I could see where, even though it's not a spell, it would make a great pet. I can see that. Maybe it has a Maycast of a prickly bear attack, for itself, something along those lines. All right, that is number 5. Let's go ahead now and go to number 4. Now, as you may have guessed from my location, the number 4 most favorite spell to pet is going to be... That's right, Ra. As long as Ra has been around, and as well as people like the appearance, if not the effectiveness of the spell, it's not very effective, but it is really, really cool in appearance. As long as this spell has been around, I'm surprised that King's Isle hasn't made a pet out of Ra. Maybe it's the whole thou shalt not possess a god for a pet sort of thing. I don't know if that's it, or I don't know, maybe they just don't want to, or what. But Ra is the number 4 most favorite spell to pet choice. It a little bit surprised me because, well, it has been around for a long time, and generally whenever you get an older spell or an older anything like that, people tend to forget about it, and it goes in between the cracks and it goes by the wayside, and people don't think about it anymore. But regardless of that, apparently the appearance of it is good enough that it made the number 4 most favorite spell to pet pick in the spiral. Let me go ahead now, and I'm going to go to an appropriate location for the number 3. I must say that this is a perfect location for the number 3 most favorite spell to pet pick in the spiral. I thought long and hard about where I would film a location for this pet, and anytime I see the animation for it, this is what comes to my mind. The number 3 most favorite spell to pet pick in the spiral is... There you have it. You can just see from the casting how similar it is to this place. Rusalka hasn't been around all that long, but let's face it, it's just a bad beep spell. It really is. It's cool to see. It's cool to cast. The damage is good. And I can understand why people would want this as a pet. Especially if they had that little lighting eye animation that it does there. Or maybe she casts like some lightning bolts around her. Or something along those lines. I can see where that would be. So I didn't personally pick this pet. It wasn't in my top 5 list. But it was in the voters' top 5 list. And I can reasonably understand why. Rusalka is the number 3 most favorite spell to be converted to a pet in the spiral. Let me go ahead now. I kind of like the ambiance here, the atmosphere. And one of these days, I'm getting a little bit off the subject. One of these days, I'm going to glitch out there to the horizon and see what's there. It probably just drops off, just like the flat Earth and Columbus thing. But maybe it doesn't. Maybe there's something interesting out there. Anyway, let me go ahead now and move it on up to the number 2 most favorite spell to pet choice in this. Now, I don't know why. Maybe it's the dim and dark nature of this spell that made me think of this as a great location to film it in. It doesn't really have anything to do with water, but it does have to do with creepiness and things that have way too many arms or legs, and at least more than they should have. And it's generally just kind of dingy and scary looking. The number 2 most favorite spell to pet choice in the spiral is... That's right. Call of Cthulhu, also somewhat lovingly known as Lulu. I'm not quite sure how it could be lovingly, but it is. Sorry. Known as Lulu. I think it's probably because Cthulhu is too hard to say. I'm not quite sure. People abbreviate everything these days. But yes, we will call him, her, Lulu, is the number 2 most favorite spell to pet pick in the spiral. I'm also surprised that they haven't made this one into a pet before now, because it narrowly actually missed being the number 1 most favorite. Again, I'm not quite sure why, because it's, yeah. I don't see the beauty of the thing myself. I really don't. But a lot of people do. Here we are. Even though the sky is falling, we are at the place most likely to find the number 1 most favorite spell to pet choice in the spiral. This spell was so popular whenever it came out that right away people started talking about having pets made out of it. And it's been popular for all this time, so far as a cute, cool, and yet tough looking little pet is. The number one most favorite pet I'm the most favorite pet. I'm already to get ahead of myself. I want it to be a pet already too. The number one most favorite spell to pet choice in the spiral is yes, those cute, cuddly, although probably fatally electric little glow bugs. I've heard having one would be good enough as a pet, having both as a pair would be great as a pet, but for the most part, all around, people say that this would be the pet they would most like to have. It nearly beat out Call of Cthulhu, but then again, Call of Cthulhu has its own mystique. Anyhow, the Glowbug Squall, that is the number one top most favorite pet in the spiral. Now, I realize that in this voting process, not all of you got a vote, and things might have changed if you had. It's possible. By all means, if you don't think any of these five are the ones that you would pick, go ahead and leave a comment below. I would love to hear what your thoughts, what your choice is for the number one top favorite spell to pet. I would love to hear what your opinions are. By all means, leave me a thing. I think that as well, I'm going to go right into Salt in the Swamp. Come on, let me in. They said the name, but it wouldn't let me in. I also think that not only for spells, but for a lot of the mounts out there, that a lot of people would like to see some of the mounts that they have turn into pets so they can have a matching setup going on there. So you could be riding your, imagine if you could ride a Glowbug. That would be pretty fun. If you could have a Glowbug mount and a Glowbug pet that was equipped and visible while you had your mount on. You know, everything matching. Everybody likes matching stuff. I think that's a good idea too. Anyway, guys, that's going to be it. That is the top 5 most favorite spell to pet choices in the spiral. By all means, let me hear your votes, your voice, and maybe we'll put it into another video. Alright, guys, that is it for now. Until next time, if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, a good hard smash as well. Subscribe and share and yell my name to the heavens, because I would love to see more of you around here. Until next time, this is Skelemystyk reminding you that whatever else you do, always love the game. Peace! Hey, what's up, Skelemystyk? One of the things that we as players spend a lot of our time working on is our pets. I mean, let's face it, our pets are immensely helpful to us. They help us to fish. They help us to garden. They give us extra energy. We use them in battles. I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't remember what we did before we had such helpful